for the 11th time in franchise history. Let that sink in for a second. 1962 for the 11th time. 11 times. Like, the Yankees make the postseason every year, so it's like we take it for granted how easy they make it seem to get to the postseason. For the Mets, 11 times in the history of the franchise, they have been a playoff team, and tonight they get their chance to go even further as they start Game 1 of the wild card round.
First of all, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Hoff. I'm happy for all the great Met fans. What a season. I mean, this was as wild as it gets, really. I've said a lot of times, I've said this to you, Sal, I've said this prior, I've said this for years. To me, the best rides in sport are the unexpected rides.
Yeah.
Like, think about what our expectations are for the Knicks this year based on the Karl Anthony Towns trade and where they were a year ago. We're all gearing up for a championship run. Now, will we be rewarded? We don't know, but our minds are already there. When you are almost mentally checked out, despondency or sporting apathy begins to creep in to a season for a specific team, and they somehow, under the most unlikely set of circumstances, regenerate time and time and time again. This is a wild script that I unless I watched it unfold, there's no way I would have bought this.
I still don't even buy it after watching what happened yesterday. Now, you always had the cushion of the second game yesterday during that incredible baseball game, which, by the way, like, we talk about, okay, well, only the 11th time in franchise history, which is a big deal to begin with. But that game in itself, I mean,
what a game.
Yeah, I don't think it's recency bias. It is the greatest regular season game I've ever seen in my life from a Mets fan perspective. When you think about what was at stake, how it all played out. The only game, and I referenced this last night on SNY, the only game that it even came close to in my mind was the 99 Mets-Yankees Subway Series, the Matt Franco game. The first time the Mets took 2 out of 3 ever from the Yankees, and it was because of the back and forth that day. Yankees up, Mets up, whatever, in the back and forth. You had that in this game, but it was against the Braves for a playoff spot. So even though you have the cushion of the second game, the intensity, the drama, the emotions of that first game, God, that's what being a sports fan is all about. And it's been very rare that the Mets have come out on the right side of that. And yesterday was one of those days you got to take it all in.
Now, I know that this was obviously regular season. The thing that I compare it to was the crazy. Now, I could go to the World Series with the Red Sox in '86. Obviously, the stakes are much greater. But I always thought the craziest game that I've ever seen from a Mets perspective, and really including, I think, even the Yankees, although the Laird's home run in '96 was up there off Walters. That was insane when they were down by a ton of runs and he hit that bomb. Was the '86 game in the Astrodome.
Game 6. NLCS,
Keith hit the triple, back and forth.
Yeah, they were down 3-0.
Yeah, I bet Bass hit off the left field foul pole. And I remember I had to go somewhere. I either had CYO basketball practice or bowling. I was kind of young, and I had to. Somebody was picking me up, and I remember I was in my basement, and I just didn't want that game to end, and I didn't want to leave, and it was insane. We all know what happened. Mets win that game. Orozco throws his mid up.
Right, but the back and forth,
the back and forth nature,
knowing that Mike Scott was looming in Game 7,
correct, and knowing that. While there was no Mike Scott, although we thought Chris Sale was going to pitch, we wound up not pitching. Mike Scott wasn't waiting, but. If that goes to a second game and the Mets lose the first, now the heaviness of the venue and the rivalry and the history, it may have been too much to overcome. And when Lindor hit that ball, I did not think it was gone. I thought it was a pop-up to center. I think Gary Cohn was fooled by that. Just a magnificent, improbable, implausible, crazy, insane finish.
I was still trying to, like, in real time watching the game, the emotions are, okay, it's 3-0, and the Mets aren't getting anything done. You're frustrated, but you know that you have Game 2 there as that safety net, and you're starting to look ahead. Even though the game wasn't over, you're starting to look ahead to that. And then the rally, Tyrone Taylor with the big base. That guy's just an absolute freaky gamer. I mean, he's such a
pitches.
He's such a gamer. I love the guy. Anyway, the Nimmo home or whatever. So then you get the emotional high of, oh my God, they just stormed back as they've done all year long, and they're gonna beat the Braves and go to the postseason. Then Diaz coughs it up, and we could do more on that or dive into that, which is just despicable by Edwin Diaz. And I'm so sick of it. Like, I'm glad he came back and got the job done. That's great. He shouldn't have had to do that in the first place. Unacceptable to blow the game and blow it in the fashion that he did. But by the time Lindor was up, I still was not emotionally recovered from them blowing the game. So I was the high of highs after the Nimmo homer, then the low of lows thinking, I cannot believe they did it again. Like, this can't be. I know there's still game 2, but this can't be happening. So before I could even, like, get into the game and start to hope for a comeback, I was still distraught and still caught up in the emotions of Diaz blowing the game. And then the next thing you know, you're tracking the Lindor fly ball, and it's gone. And it was an incredible high. Like, one of, and I, you know me with Piazza and the moments that Piazza has provided.
Yeah.
I think that Lindor homer to me, outside of the 9-11 home run that Piazza hit, I really think that's separate. And I thought Vaccaro ranked, and I thought he did a great job in today's post of the biggest Mets home runs of all time. The only thing I would disagree with, I would move the Piazza home run to a separate category.
Okay.
Because how can you rank that 5?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, if it's,
well, it minimizes human life and unintentionally. I know what you mean.
But also, I agree that it wasn't the most important home run as far as the impact. Yeah. Matter of fact, I think Piazza's home run in Game 6 of the 99 NLCS was his greatest home run. But outside of, and they ended up losing that game anyway, outside of that, I think this Lindor home run, outside of the postseason, of course, with the Pratt, Nagbayani, 2 home runs that Vaccaro referenced there. This in the regular season certainly one of the great, and I think just in general, it is in the great home runs and great moments that I've ever witnessed as a Met fan. Period, including postseason.
I watched the Lindor that trot around the bases, and when he got to the dugout, that long, slow walk was very, very symbolic. Almost felt like he was taking his time to shove it up my behind here. Yeah. I'm like, when his teammates were waiting for him, and they took his helmet off, and the embrace that Francisco Lindor got at the top step of the dugout, I mean, that was poignant stuff. He was tremendous. And he's everything that I wanted him to be, and I wasn't sure that he was. Let me just say this now. The things, the conversations that we've had about Lindor. And now, if you've listened to the show really for the last 5 or 6 weeks, you've heard me certainly soften my stance and acknowledge how amazing he's been. It's not like I was still fighting this, but this is who I thought the Mets were getting. And quite frankly, this is more than I thought the Mets were getting. Like, I didn't know that he had this in him, even as at the apex of his Cleveland Guardian days. Like, Francisco Lindor, what he has done, it is beyond descriptive. To try to play with a bad back when you can't, anything that you do, one false move, one false twist, one false turn, and to turn with the torque and explode on a fastball and crank it 413 feet to will. Who knows how many shots this poor guy's taken the last week or so just to get out there. To will your team to the playoffs, it is heroic, and it was amazing. And I mean, salute. I mean, I cannot salute Lindor any more respectfully and aggressively than I did yesterday, and I am right now.
And he's a guy that I believed in because I remember the home run he hit against the Yankees in the postseason years ago. Yep. And when you see a moment like that, you believe in that player. Now, obviously, with the Mets, it hasn't happened to that level until this year where he kept doing it left and right. That's why we talked about it yesterday. Who's going to be the hero? Well, I'm going to go with the obvious because to me, it's Francisco Lindor. He will not let them lose. And again, he didn't. He didn't let them lose. They very easily could have rolled over in Game 1 after that. And he instead hits an incredible home run, pushing the Mets into the postseason. And now the real fun begins, BT. But what a remarkable year. The fact that this team was not only not expected by many to do much, and I think the idea that people were writing them off from the beginning is just not true. Going into the season, whether it was just you and I talking about it or whatever, I thought that best case scenario, they could win 85 games and be the final wildcard team. Well, guess what? They were the final wildcard team. In season is where it really got dicey because the way that they started, they looked pathetic in that opening series with Milwaukee, getting punked by Rhys Hoskins and Jeff McNeil looking like a clown. 0-5 to start. 11 games under 500. At that point, even the Mets themselves had to question what was going on, and I guarantee you deep down that they did. But to their credit, they somehow dug out of that. Not easy to do. Doesn't happen often. It took them to game 161 to dig out and punch their ticket, and even with that, they still barely got in as the final wildcard team, but they did it. And I think, to me, the resiliency of this team will never be forgotten. When we look back, like you said, expect the unexpected seasons are the things that are most, enjoyable as a sports fan. The resiliency all year long, every step of the way, resulting with a playoff spot. That's the greatest thing that could happen for this Mets team. BT and Sal on the Fan, 888-808-1019. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Jordan is in Port Jeff. What's up, Jordan?
What's going on, Sal? So that might have been, well, no, it wasn't might. That was the greatest regular season or, playoff implication Mets game I have seen in my lifetime. The highs and lows, I mean, dude, I almost had a heart attack. So me and my fiance are getting married in 3 weeks, right?
Congratulations.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We're both, obviously diehard Mets fans, but Edwin Diaz is her favorite player.
Oh,
okay.
God.
So
you sure you want to go through with this?
Wait a minute. So our plan is to come out to the trumpets at the wedding, right? So now I am watching this game yesterday, right? I'm screaming at the top of my lungs when they take the lead. My dog's hiding in the other room. And then Diaz comes in. He gives up the lead, and I immediately call my fiance, and I'm screaming. I'm like, there's no way we're coming out to the trumpets. And then Lindor hits the home run. I'm still screaming at the top of my lungs. The dog's still hiding. And then I'm sending her a text when the game ends. I'm sorry I yelled at you. And, that basically sums
Hey,
up
Jordan.
yesterday,
Hey, Jordan, by the way, if he blows one against the Brewers, you could always come out to Who Let the Dogs Out. You could always bring that guy back up. Why not?
Good luck, Jordan. Best of luck. It sounds like you're ready for marriage with those exchanges there. He's ready to go. So good for you. Best of luck to your upcoming wedding here. Yeah, I mean, the Diaz stuff, it is what it is with closers. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. You got to cover first base. You got to cover first base. Look, there's not about the negative because they ended up winning the game, but it shouldn't have even been that dramatic.
100%. You know what, though? I got to tell you. So there's no doubt, and you look at the shifting of energies in sports. Not fully in our city, but certainly across the country. Football's king, right? Football's been king for a long time. What yesterday once again reminded me is that there's no drama like baseball drama. There's just not. And you can have a Tom Brady drive or a Rodgers drive or a Brett Favre drive or a Peyton Manning drive or whatever, or a game-winning kick at the gun in front of 100,000 people. There is something about baseball, the starts and the stoppages and the foul balls and the resets and the intermittent pauses.
Yeah, and the anticipation of a pitch.
Yeah, and then just the 5-second explosion of energy. There's nothing that matches baseball theater.
I mean, in this town, it's been a baseball town forever. So, and for me personally, it's always been my favorite. I know the animal that the NFL has become. It's king, like you said, but baseball and baseball postseason and baseball games that mean something down the stretch. Like yesterday felt like a postseason game. We know that it wasn't, but God, it was just so beautiful. And again, frustrating. Hey, that's what being a fan is. The emotions of that game is what being a fan is all about. Nothing's ever easy as a sports fan. I mean, even the teams that win, good God, let's just reference the Giants winning the 2 Super Bowls. Was that easy? Well, they didn't have a bye. They didn't win go on winning the division or whatever it may be.
Yeah, they
get in as a wild card. Yeah, right. You have to win 3 games on the road just to get in, and then they win the Super Bowl against Brady. And then the dramatics as they do it late in the game. That's what being a sports fan is. Keeps you on the edge of your seat, the emotion. Now, we could have done without the back and forth yesterday. It was bad enough to endure the 3-0 for 8 innings. Once the Mets explode for the 6 runs, Diaz should have just closed it out. But, of course, he didn't. And Lindor, it set the stage for Lindor to once again be the hero and having one of the great moments in the history of the team. Ray is in Freehold. What's up, Ray?
Hey, what's up, Sal? What's up, BT?
Hey, Ray.
First-time caller.
All right.
First-time caller, long-time listener. I've been listening to you guys for a long time, man, and I appreciate the call. My question now should not be no question in doubt. Who's the leader of this Mets team? Who's the leader?
That's Lindor.
You got rid of all those lame guys that's been holding them down, been stabbing them in the back. Now look who's been really stepping up. Who's been carrying his team? Should be no question.
Well, I I think that, and thank you for the call, Ray.
Thanks, buddy.
I think that that's a great conversation, and it's one of the reasons why this Mets team has had success is because of the chemistry that this group had. And I think it's easy to just sit there and say, well, Francisco Lindor is the leader. And yes, he is. And he's somebody that we talked about a year ago having the potential to be that, but for some reason didn't take full control. Where there was thought that Alonso was the leader, and then it was Alonso, Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, that core group, which wasn't really clicking. And for whatever reason, and I thought there were signs a year ago, whatever it was, maybe even 2 years ago, where Lindor and Nimmo were the two clear guys on this team. However, with the addition of J.D. Martinez, and Mendoza referenced him quite a bit yesterday in the post-game celebration, and Jose Iglesias, I think those two guys helped push Lindor to the forefront of this team being the leader. Not to mention his play that goes along with it. But, yeah, I mean, Francisco Lindor is the clear leader on this team on and off the field. But the help of the veterans like J.D. Martinez and Iglesias, I think, has been instrumental in his development and being the focal leader of this team.
Well, did he become the leader because he started to play better? Or is it what happened first?
No, I think it's more than just his play because he's been good the last couple of years. Now this year,
but this is out of this world. This is a different level.
I get it, but he, like I said, I think it's because of J.D. Something happened with the chemistry of that clubhouse. If you listen to everybody speak, okay, everybody all year long, when they reference what's going on with the chemistry, and this is not trying to knock Pete Alonso, but they all talk about the same three people. J.D. Martinez, Iglesias, Francisco Lindor. Not Pete Alonso, not even Brandon Nimmo, although I do think Nimmo is somewhat of a leader. But that's who they talk about as being instrumental to the key chemistry of this group. It's not a knock on Alonso. It's just the reality that when we were talking about this a year ago, Alonso's not a leader. I think either he thought he was or there was some maybe not like at the forefront headbutting, but just subtle like Lindor maybe didn't feel comfortable that it wasn't his team because Alonso was here before him and because he was a big face of the Met fan base. Like, I really think that was a big part of it. J.D. Martinez coming. And by the way, that meeting that turned around the season, Alonso wasn't there for that.
He wasn't there, no.
Okay.
Although we did speak of the meeting when Stearns, he spoke when Lindor was obviously out. Lindor's, we could talk about Lindor's play, which is obvious, but to me, his character really, really shine through here. I mean, I think the easiest thing in the world to do is, and this applies to any facet of life, when things are going well, it's easy to kind of roll downhill. Hey, I'm feeling good and this is working and everybody's happy and I'm making money and I'm successful, blah, blah, blah. And when he was hitting some roadblocks here, and this always impressed me, even though I wanted more from him, I always made sure to illuminate this stuff because it's an impressive trait that a lot of players don't have. When he was scuffling a bit, he was the same person. And, he never broke stride and in his conviction in what he was going to do and what the team could do. And in real time, when you're under 500 or you're hitting 220, it seems a little hollow. But then when you fast forward to now, when he's got every right to gloat and shove it down the throat of a lot of people, including myself, he's the same man. He's the same person. It's the same presentation, measured, humble, thankful, and he is just a good dude.
I think I heard it in there, but I'm not 100% sure, so I just want to clarify. Did I hear and I was wrong in there?
You heard what you heard. You heard what you heard. Don't go fishing. You heard what you heard.
You want to apologize to Lindor? I mean, today's the day.
Is today the day? Is today the day?
I wasn't sure because I got caught up in the excitement. Did Lindor hit that home run from the right side or left side?
I mean, I was trying to tell you guys that he was clutch. I don't know why it wasn't resonating with you guys. I mean, listen, if you guys if you don't think I got hit on Twitter about this,
I'm sure.
If it needs to be said, I mean, how would you like me to say it?
No, I wasn't.
Would you like me to say I was wrong? I'm not going to apologize because to me, you apologize when you do something that's unbecoming. I will say I was wrong, and I will own that, and I will put that on these shoulders and say I was really wrong. And I missed it by a mile. and he crushed it.
Respect. And you weren't the only one. Maybe about Lindor, yes, different story. You weren't the only one who was wrong about the 2024 Mets. More on that when we come back, and we'll continue with your calls. 888-808-1019.